I'm Joseph.
I'm Nick.
And this is Fish Jelly.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. We continue to receive a lot of nice messages from peoples of all sorts.
Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. Lovely.
Yeah, which is really nice. We don't get the chance to respond to all of them.
We don't?
No. Well, there's just a lot like comments and DMs and
Oh, sure.
emails.
Mhm.
But for the most part, we do see them. I do realize that a lot of messages, like I have Instagram set up so if I don't follow a person, then their message is hidden. So I would have to go look at it,
Mhm.
which I don't do regularly
Mhm.
because a lot of those messages are like not nice or spam. But eventually I do get to them. Sometimes I don't respond because it's been so long. Or also like sometimes I'm not quite sure how to respond to a comment.
Like Nikki Whalen.
Oh yeah, I haven't even looked at her comment.
You need to I want to know what it says. Tell me.
For people who don't know, we've reviewed 3 films with
I
the
think
actress
more
Nick,
than that now.
but I've commented on her hair in every one of them. So she messaged me about it. I don't know what it says. The preview says like, "Ha ha, you're funny," and then I just took it as that. Like, yeah, thanks, girl.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah, it's really nice when we get nice messages. Yeah.
Of course.
Obviously.
Of course. I mean, I'm used to getting, on other platforms, cranky messages from people. And, if people want to spar, go ahead. They usually end up blocking me if they want to get into it with me. But, yeah, I don't mind the good and the bad. I mean, it's all part of life. My favorite cereal is Life, and I live it.
Oh, God.
It's a got to be real reference.
We saw Jackie Beat last Sunday.
Yes.
She's very funny.
She is, and a very good singer.
And the drag queens, Sherry Vine and Alaska Thunderfuck, were there as well. Alaska and Sherry opened the show, which is a celebration of Jackie Beat's, as you said, 60th birthday. So they did like an opening number sort of celebrating her, which of course was funny and mean. But that Alaska was sort of like the halftime show, and she did this long montage of songs, basically making fun of Jackie Beat. Like all she does is parody songs. It can't be that hard. So then she did her own.
It was a tribute,
which I thought was funny.
It was good.
But yeah, Jackie Beat's very her wordplay is really impressive. Yeah, it's nice seeing her like in a setting. Because we went to the Catalina Jazz Club.
Which I've never been in before, based on the advertisements of other upcoming artists. I don't know that I'll be back, but...
People seem to like when we talk about, like, give food and restaurant critiques. So I might as well throw that in right now. What did you think of the Catalina Jazz Club's dining options?
Oh, I didn't need that. No.
The tickets were
well, I didn't buy the tickets.
We didn't buy them, so I don't know how much they were, but it wasn't free to get in.
No.
And then there's an expectation that we spend a certain amount of money on our like bill in addition to buying tickets to a show, which to me is a big turnoff.
Yeah, well, also the tipping device which is like gay church service at the end. I don't need that either, but
well, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to pay for a ticket and sit my ass down and watch a show. But this rigmarole of like, well, doors open at 6 and you're guaranteed seating at this time. And if you don't show up at this time, it's like, what did I pay a ticket for? Like, what did I buy this ticket for?
Right.
We did end up getting a nice booth.
Yes. A John Wilkes booth.
Slightly obstructed view, but not the worst.
Yeah, there was a pillar.
There was. But the menu, I don't know about that menu.
Wait, we shared a burger.
We did.
And we did that because our friend ordered a bunch of appetizers.
Well, we had also had a late lunch, I believe. So I think neither of us was super hungry, but we ordered this goat cheese pesto burger.
Oh yeah, that shit was that. It felt like it had been heated up about an hour ago.
I asked for it medium well, and it, like you said, tasted like it had been prepared a couple hours prior, cooked well done, and then they
Yeah.
just threw it in the microwave. It was
Mm-hmm.
tiny, and then a little bit of fries on a plate that honestly looked like, I mean, I could have present like the cruise ship food
Yeah.
is presented better at the buffet than the way they threw this plate at us. And it wasn't cheap.
No.
Uh,
And then what else? We had some calamari, which
Calamari, some nachos. Those nachos were
those nachos
no,
weren't shit.
some
But
meatballs. I didn't taste those. We did get a couple of bottles of wine that we shared just between the two of us. So I
pretty.
was feeling a little buzzed. The venue's nice though,
Uh,
but those prices, I mean, like, I don't know.
yeah, I don't need to go back.
They
But
had a catfish plate that was just like, I saw someone ordered. It was just a piece of sauteed catfish with some little mashed potatoes and some what looked like frozen mixed vegetables that were microwaved. And the plate looked wet, like the vegetables, like they scooped them out of whatever, still full of water.
the food also took a very long time to come.
$31 for that.
Yeah.
The food took
Oh,
forever.
I think I made a comment about the spaghetti because there's some $31 spaghetti, and I'm like, that has to be exceptional for me to.
It wasn't spaghetti and meatballs though. It was just spaghetti. $31 for spaghetti.
No.
You know, the food bank gives the elderly free pasta and free tomato sauce.
They do. Or, I've been to Venice several times now, even at the nicer areas that are not just tourist traps. The pasta is cheap and it's homemade there for the most part.
I just don't. I mean, I say this every time, but.
And I mean Venice, Italy, not Venice Beach.
Yeah, not Venice, California. I don't understand the purpose of making a place not like it's a turnoff. So now my impression of the Catalina Jazz Club is that the service is slow, the food is subpar. I mean, mediocre at best, overpriced. So then the idea of like going there is like,
That's most places to me now, though. I don't know.
So that was disappointing. But Jackie Beat was funny. I wanted to talk about the podcast Scamanda. It was recommended to me, and I listened to it, and I listened to all the bonus episodes. It was pretty riveting. I think the production is horrible.
You caught snatches of it, and it made me want to turn it off.
It's so repetitive, and these people, most of the people who are talking seem like they don't have a lot of information, and that's why they're just repeating the same thing over and over again. But for people who don't know, it's about this woman named Amanda Riley who basically faked having cancer to get people to give her stuff, and she was convicted by the IRS for wire fraud, and she's the first person to receive a conviction like that based on faking cancer. So it's significant for that. And she was convicted of, I think, coercing people to give her what was recorded was like $105,000. But that doesn't include cash, which she received a lot of, we're told, and like non-financial gifts, because she would receive trips, show tickets, dinners, all that. So it's pretty despicable to do something like that for obvious reasons. I think the biggest reason is like, people like her, what make people like me not believe anyone. So I'm very cynical. I don't ever give money because I just assume everyone's lying. Everyone has a sob story. You walk into the street right now and you tell anyone like, I have $1,000 for someone who needs it, just tell me your story. Every single asshole on the street will tell you a story. Like not everyone can be down and out. Not everyone can be like in need more than the next. It's like no one cares about the fact that there are people who actually need help. Like everyone will ask for it.
Yeah.
I think that's behaviors like what she demonstrated don't help this cause. But the thing that really struck me was all of the people who were willing to get on record to talk about her. And you have these people like, back in 2017, I gave her $50 and I just think they should throw the book at her. And I always believe, because my mom told me this when I was a kid, and I still follow this, you should do things because you want to. That way, if it doesn't end up being what you thought, at least I feel right in my own spirit that.
Which is about the closest you can get to a sense of altruism that there is, because I don't quite believe that altruism as the essence of it is real anyway. I think it's about how at best, like how it makes you feel inside. So you donated this money. This ended up being a sham. Well, did they Bernie Madoff your ass, or is it just you didn't trust your instincts and gave money to this greedy bitch?
I understand being frustrated that, if someone asks me for $100 because they need to, their car insurance is going to policy will be canceled if they don't pay it, and then I see they used it to buy a pair of shoes. Yeah, I'd be upset. Like, why did I give you this money if you used it for shoes and not your car insurance? But I also feel like if I do give someone $100 to help them with a bill, I'm doing it because I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And once I do that, I let it go. If I offer someone anything, I do it because I feel like I want to. And that was enough for me. I don't need to keep dibs and keep track. You would never catch me on someone's podcast making it seem like someone destroyed my spirit over $50. And I'm not saying 50, that's a lot of money to people. That's a lot of money to me too. But
yeah, it's not inconsequential.
So it's not about the dollar amount. It's just like, so then you did this because part of her scam, which she's a very smart woman, it would seem. She targeted like religious groups. So like she was part of a mega church.
Mm-hmm.
She was the principal of like a Catholic or Christian school. And these people's sort of blind willingness to help anyone in need really felt like it was a performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're all just performing.
Church as itself is a function. That's a performative function.
And to me, it's like, this is what your dumbass gets for doing something that you're just doing it because you like. The vibe I got is these people thought that they were doing something beyond good, but like look how good we are for helping her.
Mm-hmm. What they say? It's easier for a camel.
I don't know. I'm not articulating it well, but it really felt icky listening to everyone talk. And then the bonus episode. So for anyone who is familiar and hasn't listened to the bonus episodes, I would recommend it because the host has like some of her she used to be an RA at a college, like in the dorms, and two of her former colleagues, one of whom was like her manager, talked about her. And they just go like, well, there was definitely something in her eyes that didn't feel right and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay.
In retrospect, you could say that about anybody.
About anything. Yeah. And then they had like one of her former like a teacher at the school she was a principal at. And that woman talking about, well, the first time I met her husband, I knew something wasn't right with him. And I stayed away from her. And it's like, girl.
Okay.
I mean, okay. I work with a lot of people who I wouldn't deal with beyond having to take the Zoom call with.
Right.
Like if I find out 5 years from now they killed someone, it's like, well, I didn't really know the bitch. I don't, I hated her hair. That doesn't make her a serial killer. Like, but
it does make her dead to me.
I don't know. Listening to a Scamanda made me think that it's really important to do things that I feel good about. I mean, so that I can move forward in peace and not think like, well, what, I gave her a ride. People get so funky over shit. Like,
well, that's what, and that kind of bullshit is exactly why from a very young age, I was like, I'm not going to ask anybody for shit. I'm going to do all by myself. Fuck y'all. I'm not beholden to you because I needed help, which, has created a different problem for me in my life.
Yeah.
But it's because of that. Like, I'm not, no.
But, even like going, I don't know. I don't want to go on a rant.
Also, it sounds like a Marvel villain.
We started Drag Race Australia. Season 3.
You know how people think of LA and how people act in LA? These goddamn drag queens in Australia, that's the attitude. You're getting a full...
Well, we've already talked about this, that the Australian queens are just so nasty to one another. And then I was told that that's how drag queens are in Australia. Like, that's the sense of humor.
Blech, you can have it.
So that's fine. Like, if you're all just nasty to each other, but straight out the gate, episode 1, like the first 5 minutes, they're just vile to one another.
Well, but none of them that are smart, and most of them are beautiful enough to back up that kind of attitude in my mind. So
there was only one Hollywood
star
who's stunning.
Yes.
And she won the first episode, and she's not a very nice lady, but she was funny and she backed up. and she's new to drag.
I didn't think her attitude was that egregious. I think she's
not the worst of
she
it.
spoke
No.
like somebody that's young and beautiful
And confident.
And I don't mind. There's a difference between being nasty and being confident.
But still, I don't know what I would have to get paid or what the outcome would need to be for me to get on TV and just seem difficult and nasty.
Who's that dumb little the 25-year-old that ended up in the bottom 3? That white one that
with the
Ashley something.
The very sort of the face of shaped like a brick.
All talking about how intimidated everybody is. It's like, why don't you just worry about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I am difficult, but I like not to be nasty. It would just really bother me if.
Oh, and that one, the Amel. Oh my
god. I mean, I'll keep watching.
This is why we don't smoke weed every day, people.
We also started the Max series Last Call, when a serial killer stalked queer New York. Mm-hmm. So we finished the first 3 episodes. Episode 4 comes out tonight. Mm-hmm. So I'm anxious to watch it. It's really hard to watch, and there's nothing new within it. I mean, these are stories to me, it feels a lot like watching
Dahmer,
like not just the Netflix series, but like various documentaries that have been made about the story, and just how the police just weren't interested in helping this queer community, or they were uncomfortable confronting it. So this killer relied on that. Jeffrey Dahmer relied on the fact that law enforcement were uncomfortable,
and that they didn't give a shit about Black queer
combined
kids,
with not caring about this community of Black queer people. So Last Call echoes that.
Well, yeah, I think what's really interesting to me is you see this, because this person who they've just, at the end of episode 3, they've located his fingerprints and found
they've identified
him in Maine. There was the first 2 victims that we're talking about in the series are these 2 closeted older white men, and how they were treated in the press versus the Puerto Rican street hustler. I mean,
right, because they call the 2 the older white men, they're like married businessman, socialite, and then they get to the Puerto Rican, it's like crackhead, prostitute.
But I believe the director of the series is the great nephew of that.
Oh, the bisexual guy,
the sex worker. Yeah, I think that's him. Who's on camera.
It's moving. It's powerful. What's unique about this one in comparison to maybe like a Dahmer one is that we have a lot of people who were involved during that period in the early 90s in that community, trying to figure out what happened, knew the victims.
Well, I mean, this is New York, not Wisconsin. Yeah. So there is a level of activism here that is unparalleled to other parts of the country.
So it's really interesting to hear firsthand, like the sort of vibe of.
Well, the ripple effect of trauma is significant,
So it is moving. I would highly recommend it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty upsetting. Mm-hmm. And even to hear the documentarians, I wonder how they got clearance on some of the interviews, because it's clear that some of the law enforcement agents weren't, maybe they didn't understand what the angle of the documentary is. Because we do hear one ask, like, why do you keep asking about like the gay stuff? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, because we're clearly trying to show that your department didn't do its due diligence, because you don't give a shit about these people.
Yeah, because you get these people saying that being gay isn't relevant. And it's like, well, of course it is.
Or even the family of the Puerto Rican gentleman who was killed. I mean, clearly, and I guess the documentarian who is related to these people, like having them on there, it's clear that they were uncomfortable and unaccepting of their gay family member.
Still speaking of him in euphemistic terms.
Or not even acknowledging that he was gay.
Yep.
So it's very interesting, but hard to watch. Mm-hmm. Moving on, you wanted to talk about Venice?
Oh, yeah. So the Venice Film Festival has unveiled its program, which is, after Guadagnino's challengers had to pull out per MGM, and I think was shoved in early 2024 for release, everybody was thinking that, we're going to end up getting a bunch of Italian films in the competition. And oh my God, this is a very exciting lineup.
Well, tell us about it.
I'll just mention very briefly a couple or two or three that I'm excited about. But Ava DuVernay, her film Origin is competing. She's the first. There have been Black women, well, Alice Diop at least, that I can think off the top of my head, that competed last year. But DuVernay would technically be the first African American woman to compete for the Golden Lion. So I am. Hopefully, we'll have time to read the book that's based on before the festival, but that is very exciting to me. Bertrand Bonello's The Beast with Léa Seydoux and George McKay, which is based on a Henry James novella, but like very loosely. There was another film at Berlin this year that I quite liked that was also based on the same novella, The Beast in the Jungle by Patrick Chiha. A surprise addition, I don't think anybody knew, Ryosuke Hamaguchi of Drive My Car was working on a new film, but he was, and his Evil Does Not Exist is going to be in the competition. But okay, so I am pumped for the out of competition selection because, oh my God, they have Woody Allen and Roman Polanski, and you know, I do believe in separating an artist's life from their art, and I don't agree with things Polanski did, but I'm excited to see this movie starring Fanny Ardant. And the Woody Allen film, also excited to see that. William Friedkin has a new film, his first narrative since I think Killer Joe in 2011, Harmony Korine, Richard Linklater, and Liliana Cavani, who has not had a new film in decades. And I'll bring her up again later based on what I'm reading right now. But yeah. And then in the Horizon sidebar, you have that Macedonian filmmaker who did You Won't Be Alone, that witch movie that you and I both really liked.
Oh, yeah.
And I liked his film he did right after that, Of an Age, the gay film. He has a new film in Horizons called Housekeeping for Beginners. Japanese artist, filmmaker Shinya Tsukamoto's House of Fire. And then in the other sidebar, Venice Days, they are premiering a new Isabelle Huppert film, Sidonie in Japan. So, of course, I'm very excited for that. And that is the directorial debut of a director named Elise Girard.
Very nice. Let's take a quick break. Films released we didn't cover. The Beasts.
This was at Cannes 2021, I think. It was out of a special screening. Rodrigo Sorogoyen. And I actually saw this on the plane going somewhere this past year. So I didn't even, it's decent enough, I think, for a watch, but based on everything, we have a lot going on. So I didn't feel like rewatching after having just seen it. But it stars Marina Foy and Denis Minochet as a French couple. They're expatriates living in Spain, farmers, and the locals do not get along with them. And he has a temper, the husband, and he ends up getting his ass murdered by the locals. And then there's, you can kind of predict where that goes from there, but it's interesting.
Next, Bobby Wine, the People's President.
I don't know if his name is pronounced Bobby or Bobby.
Excuse me.
It's about the Ugandan opposition leader, musical artist, and activist, Bobby Wine, who has opposed the 35-year regime of Yoweri Museveni. Uganda is not a good place to be gay. That's what I know about Uganda. I think, what was that? I saw a documentary called Call Me Kuchu. I should actually, God, that was over a decade ago. But anyway, you passed on this, so I didn't push it. But it's directed by Moses Boyo and Christopher Sharp.
Sons of Summer.
Ugh, this didn't appeal to me. And it's directed by, yeah, of course. It's directed by Clive Fleury, and it's a surfing drama. And it stars Isabel Lucas, who I can't stand. She's that boring looking Australian white woman. You actually did her hair. You don't even remember doing her hair, but you did it.
Let me look her up.
She looks crazy. She looks dead behind the eyes and everything I've seen her in. I thought she had gone away.
Damn.
She's blah. You might as well cut her out of your movie. Anyway, that.
God. Let me see. She looks like someone.
Yeah, a bland looking white lady.
Oh God, I'm not saying that. The Unknown Country.
This, in a perfect world, directed by Marissa Maltz. I want to say it was at South by Southwest, but it stars Lily Gladstone, who I really like. particularly for Kelly Reichardt's 2016 film Certain Women. If you haven't seen Certain Women, highly recommended. But Lily Gladstone is a standout in that. And she's also, of course, in the upcoming Scorsese film Killers of the Flower Moon, which I don't think that film gave her the range she needed. I think Leonardo and Robert De Niro eclipsed everybody in that movie. Anyway, this is something I'm interested in catching up on.
War Pony.
I did like this film. It won the Camera d'Or at Cannes. It was in a certain regard this past May. It's the directorial debut of Gina Gamel and Riley Keough. You know Riley Keough.
That's Lisa Marie's daughter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who I think picks very interesting projects. I find her...
She's in Zola.
Yeah, I find her very impressive considering the privilege she's come from, because she does things that are unexpected. But anyway, these two directed a movie about I think it's two characters from the Oglala Nation, and it's very kind of told in a gritty docu-hybrid way about their juxtaposed experiences, and it's kind of an upsetting film. You weren't interested in watching it, so we didn't, but this is a film I would recommend catching up on.
Projects of interest. There may be a Galaxy Quest series.
Well, so the news that I saw, which is technically unsubstantiated because I didn't see any outlets I trust saying this news, but that there've been for years they've been trying to make a Galaxy Quest series, because even Paul Scheer was working on that for a while somewhere.
Tall John Scheer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But now it's rumored that Sigourney is definitely going to be involved with the series.
Oh.
Again, I didn't see a major news outlet carry that, so who knows? I don't need her to do that. I'm fine with new, weird, interesting projects she could do, but whatever.
Movies watched for fun. An Officer and a Spy.
Speaking of Polanski, because I finished reading that book on the Dreyfus Affair, which I referenced last week.
The Richard Dreyfuss Affair?
No, Richard Dreyfuss did star in a movie about the Dreyfus Affair, which I watched. Don't act surprised that we talked about it on last week's podcast, because I watched Prisoner of Honor, directed by Ken Russell.
Is that the one with the autistic child?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss is about to come up again. Something else we're going to drag
I'm not
him
sure
for.
what you're talking about then.
Well, I brought it up. Well, you apparently weren't paying attention, but I talked about it briefly.
I can't produce this chicken shit gig and pay attention to you at the same time.
Well, I mean, and there you go.
I get like 10% of what you say, generally.
Okay, well.
But you talk enough that 10% is still more than I get from most people. So you're still a wealth of information.
Anyway, well, I read that book because I wanted some additional perspective on this case before watching the Polanski film, which was never released in this country, but I have a copy of. An Officer and a Spy. It won the second place prize at Venice in 2019, behind Joker, which won the Golden Lion that year. Anyway, yes, this is definitely much better than the Ken Russell TV movie where everybody's speaking English, with Jean Dujardin and Louis Garrel. I have to say, I think it was very well done. It's a very well done film.
Silent Fall.
Ew, this is the Richard Dreyfuss film that I
watched.
Yeah, so this is directed by a very notable Australian filmmaker, Bruce Beresford, whose early films, like Breaker Morant and Mr. Johnson, are both Criterion Collection films. I've only seen Breaker, definitely worth a watch. He's best known for a film that I really don't like called Driving Miss Daisy from 1989. But so
wait, the director of Silent Fall directed Driving Miss Daisy?
Yes. So after that, he does this really dumb thriller, and I remember my dad hating this movie. But I'd never personally watched it. It's the debut of Liv Tyler, and Linda Hamilton had nothing to do but have some dry hair, and Richard Dreyfuss star in this movie about this autistic kid whose parents are brutally slaughtered, and he's found holding the knife, but the evidence would show that he couldn't have killed them. So they bring in this retired therapist because he bungled something a year ago and is traumatized about it. So Richard Dreyfuss comes in to communicate with this autistic kid. Oh my God, it is terrible. It's actually embarrassing to sit through.
Yeah, I thought it was embarrassing. The one thing that really took my breath away is this autistic child is not mute, but he won't communicate in his own voice. He will only what's the bird that
A minor
a
bird.
minor bird, which everyone I always assumed parrots talk, but I guess that's not a parrot anyway, right?
Well, there it is a bird, but
No, but when people think of talking birds, don't we think parrots talk?
yeah, and parrots can be taught to talk, but like that,
But minor
I
birds are better at it.
I think in nature, minor birds do that.
Whatever, the bird that like repeats words it hears, this little autistic boy will, at first we're told he repeats like things he watches on TV, but only in front of people he trusts. So his sister, Liv Tyler. But then his therapist, Richard Dreyfuss, he begins to trust him. And then when this boy is like repeating things, it's clearly not his voice. He's like lip syncing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it looked terrible.
It looked terrible. It sounds terrible. Oh,
and then I don't know how this little boy was directed to behave, but he has this look on his face. It's just, I would be curious to know what other people think. It's laughably bad.
And it competed in Berlin.
Moving on, Fear of a Black Hat.
Okay, I really liked this.
This feels like the sort of like the smart man's version of CB4.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, which I kind of want to rewatch because I've only seen that once, and that's directed by Tamara Davis. But this feels much smarter.
I mean, CB4 is an effective satire, and I do enjoy it. It also seems to have more of a budget, and clearly you have a big star in CB4, Chris Rock.
Oh yeah,
among other people. But this one, feels a little more.
They even do. I think you might have gone to bed by the time this. It has a really nice moment where it's acknowledging how Martha Wash was not given credit because it features a singer like Martha Wash who is going toe to toe with this Asian, I think a Japanese woman that's in the music videos claiming to sound like this black lady.
Shout out to Martha Wash.
But yes, I really like this mockumentary about a group called NWH, which of course is a nod to NWA, and Rusty Cundieff, who directed one of your a personal favorite of yours, Sprung, and a personal favorite of mine, Tales from the Hood. But this is the best use of himself also on screen. I think he has. I think he's just as good as somebody like Mario Van Peebles. I think he's really funny. The characters, there's one of their members is Tasty Taste, but they are being interviewed by the documentarian interviewing them in this is played by Casey Lemons, who I also thought was kind of funny and cute. But yeah, I think that's, if you haven't seen that, it's definitely worth a watch.
Yes. Style Wars.
So this is the first, and I'll be bringing this up because I'm writing this piece on hip hop turning 50, but this was technically the first film, a documentary that introduced hip hop to the public, directed by Tony Silver. It's only an hour and 9 minutes, but of course, hip hop encompassed a lot more than just music. It's graffiti artists, it's dancers, breakdancing, and early films that are technically hip hop oriented tend to focus more on dancing and graffiti artists. And this film is all about explaining what bombing is, which is, all these artists painting the subway cars, much to the chagrin of law enforcement, for instance. But this was the only way that this was like the burgeoning local celebrity going on. And I think the documentary's interesting. But what's funny is you get this black mama who's she's like 17, who is so upset and disappointed that her son is bombing these subway cars.
Did I see some of this?
You saw some because you came in and you were asking me what I was watching, but just so pressed.
Oh God! One night you put on 8 Mile.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen 8 Mile.
I haven't seen it since it came out.
And I watched a little bit of what you were watching, and I didn't need to finish it.
It's not a bad film.
No, well, go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
I'm not the biggest. Well, okay, there's 2 Eminem songs that I like, and one of them he did with D12. But Yeah, I don't like him as a screen presence or anything, but it's an interesting film exercise. I do like Kim Basinger, and she's reuniting with Curtis Hanson, who would also directed her in LA Confidential. And I think what's interesting, if we're talking about the evolution of hip hop and film, and I think the notion, like the biopic as a subgenre, is a legitimizing thing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have this white rapper who gets the first major biopic about a hip hop artist, and that kind of there was a slow trickle of others, obviously, that followed after that because of the success of this film. But I don't know. Yeah, I I never envisioned having to watch it again. It's nice to see some people like Anthony Mackie, who I wouldn't have known who he was at the time that I saw this as a kid. I thought was kind of impressive in it. It's it's sad seeing Brittany Murphy now. Michael Shannon is the one that's sleeping with Kim Basinger. So looking back, it's interesting. People I wouldn't have been aware of then, who I'm very aware of now.
Yeah. We went to a friend's house for a Sloppy Joe party, which is not a euphemism for anything.
Thank God.
We really did have Sloppy Joe sandwiches
and a potato bar, baked potato bar.
Yeah, he had a baked potato bar, which is fantastic. But and the Sloppy Joes he made with some really nice. What kind of buns were those?
Those are Hawaiian bread.
Oh, was that Hawaiian bread?
That he
had toasted them, buttered them
in burger.
But the Sloppy Joe mix he made was very good, and I thought it was really good on top of just a plain baked potato, which seems kind of healthy.
I could have used some fried mushrooms with that, but that's just me.
I don't like mushrooms.
I know you don't, but
that's probably my least favorite food item.
Not every mushroom is equal, but oh yeah, fried mushrooms are portobello.
Anyhow, during the Sloppy Joe party, we watched The Hot Chick, and I don't think I'd ever seen The Hot Chick.
Well, I also hadn't seen this since the year it came out, but I own it. And during the pandemic, I think somebody that was living with us at the time. Oh no, we had a friend come over and we watched it.
We did?
You must have gone to bed.
Oh,
but yeah, I'd seen it in the past couple of years.
It's obviously like a super stupid movie and story.
Yeah, but it's actually pretty funny.
It is very funny. I do think yeah. I really can't even I don't have any thoughts because it's so stupid it's hard to critique, and then it's 2001. So obviously there are a lot of like cringy moments, but I think considering the time, they are funny.
It's very queer positive.
It is, because one of the main characters, her little brother, appears to, if not be gay, be a little cross-dresser, but the way it's handled seems sweet. And
then there's a Korean black girl who's also having trouble navigating
her racial identity.
Yeah, navigating her identity. It's about embracing yourself.
Yeah, I think the overall message is fine. I didn't care for the Rachel McAdams character.
I think she did a good job, though.
She does, but I think just as a character, it's like,
yeah. And obviously she was too old to probably play that, and that was before Mean Girls. But I think Anna Faris, that's a really underrated Anna Faris performance.
Well, she kind of does that same like breathy, shocked thing with her mouth,
But her comedic timing is gold.
It is. I feel like she's the same in every comedy she's in, but she's funny, so it works.
And Rob Schneider is doing the max.
Rob Schneider,
he's pretending to be Mexican.
Because the people don't know, the premise is that some like ancient African like hoodoo causes him to switch bodies with Rachel McAdams,
a high school.
So now he's this high school bitchy ass girl. And he chooses like as her, like, so it's her in his body. She's dressing like her. So she's wearing tight, low cut jeans and like midriffs. It just looks crazy. There's a scene where they give him a makeover to look like a dude.
And they do the Backstreet Boy look.
And they go through all the Backstreet Boys and they end up settling on, I believe, Howie, maybe. Which is just what Rob Schneider looks like. That fucking 5 head with the curly afro. But that's really funny because he does not look better with what they end up with.
No.
Anyway, he's really cute in it.
It's I'd say that's a guilty pleasure movie.
Would I watch it again? Yeah, maybe like for something silly in the background.
It's something stupid to have in the background.
People want to keep running their mouths.
It made me want to rewatch Mrs. Doubtfire because I haven't seen that in years and years and years. or Tootsie I could always put on.
You watched Swallowed.
Yeah, in anticipation, tomorrow we're seeing the latest Carter Smith film, The Passenger.
Are we seeing something today?
We're seeing Ira Sachs' Passages.
Oh, Passenger and Passages.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Yeah, I've already seen the Sachs film, which I think you'll enjoy. But you had reviewed Swallowed on your own, I think, while I was in Berlin this year.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
So I thought I should watch this before I see the new one, and I really like the first hour, and then Mark Patton shows up, and I like a good camp queen, but he's not the one for me.
Next, well, you watched Breakin' and Breakin' 2.
I probably shouldn't say much because I'm also doing a separate piece on Breakin'.
Oh, maybe don't say much.
But I actually enjoyed Breakin' a lot more than I thought I would, because it's Joel Silberg, and I've seen Rappin' with Mario Van Peebles, which is egregiously terrible. And then we watched a film Joel Silberg did called Catch the Heat with Rod Steiger, which is really bad. So my expectations were pretty low. It's definitely a cult camp classic, and it's stupid as all get out. But the three leads are charming in their way.
Breakin' was better than I thought it would be, and definitely better than Breakin' 2. Breakin' 2 could be funny. I mean, I think it would be. I would go, like, if a cute little indie theater around here had a screening, I would go.
Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, it was cute.
It's cute. It's they take ideas and run them into the ground. Of course, it blows my mind that these both came out in 1984. But
lastly, last night I don't know why we did that. Well, because we'd watched
Kiss the Girls recently.
No, but what did we watch? Oh, we had finished the last episode of
Last Call,
and then I guess you were in like a 90s thriller mood.
Mm-hmm.
And we had seen Kiss the Girl, so you put on Along Came a Spider.
What is technically 2001, but yeah.
Child, this movie
I remember not liking it the year it came out.
I would give it 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I did too. It's bad.
Oh, I should add that to my Letterboxd. Yeah. It's like trying to be smart, I feel.
Yeah, but not.
Which all these like suspense thrillers are. I mean, that's the goal, right? But this one just, I don't even have the energy to get into it.
It's so stupid. But yeah, James Patterson was all the rage around then, and technically this book is set before the events of Kiss the Girls. I think Morgan Freeman, who played this character twice and then would be inherited by Tyler Perry of all people. But he looks better in this because they're allowing him to have some gray. I remember thinking on a rewatch of Kiss the Girls, they were too dark, vigorous brown. Monica Potter, I've never, talking about bland white ladies, I do not like Monica Potter.
I really didn't like her. I mean, she just had nothing to do except stand there, and then the big she's involved in the big twist of the story, and that just felt so like, okay, who cares?
Bye. I remember because the three I always think of with her are Saw, the first one, and
I didn't even
and Patch Adams, and she looks like if you morph Julia Roberts and Faith Hill together, and I couldn't be more bored. I'm just bored.
The only interesting part was the bad guy and and him kidnapping the girl,
Michael Wincott.
Mm-hmm. That was interesting. Her little friend Anton Yelkin.
Yeah,
he's cute, but he didn't have anything to do.
Ugh. No, but that was directed by Lee Tamahori, who's from New Zealand, Maori, I believe. I still haven't seen. I have it because they did a 4K Blu-ray, I think, at some point in the past decade. But Once Were Warriors was his debut, and that still is kind of the gold standard of his filmography because he came to Hollywood and did a lot of Drek. But because we watched this, I looked him up, and he's got a couple things in the can. I remember a really weird scandal with him involving a prostitute. I think, a sex worker, but. The
director of Along Came a Spider.
Yeah, Lee Tamahori. Yeah, there was something, and I think that derailed him for a little bit. You've seen his film Next with Nicolas Cage and Jessica Biel and Uma Thurman. Anyway.
In January 2006, Tamahori was arrested on Santa Monica Boulevard when, according to Los Angeles police, he entered an undercover policeman's car while wearing a woman's dress and offered to perform a sex act in exchange for money.
Oh, okay.
He pleaded no contest. Okay. Well,
yeah, see, I remember that. Sorry to this man. That news story sits in the back of my head somewhere, and it just came out.
Well, I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. I mean, we all
nothing wrong with a little cross dressing.
We all float down here.
A little sloppy Joe in the police car.
There are worse things you could do.
I mean, Hugh Grant did it.
Eddie Murphy. Eddie.
And Eddie. Well, I don't know. Eddie was just giving a friend a ride.
Yeah, sure.
He was giving a woman in need a ride. Okay, we have a few minutes. Unfortunately, there are entries in the obituary section. Randy Meisner died.
Yeah, bassist for the Eagles.
Okay.
Do you know? So when I was,
my mom told me she learned how to speak English partially from watching or listening to the Eagles and the Beatles.
Really?
And Hotel California, I remember her saying, was a song that helped her learn English.
That's a good song. I feel conflicted because when I was in an undergrad and I worked at Sam's Club for the goddamn Walton Company and was miserable every day, I was a they make these children, these customer service managers. What you all doing? I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, they had, because they sold, huge TVs there, and they had a DVD release of the Eagles in concert. So, and this would have been probably like 2005, 6, somewhere in there, whenever that was released. And do you know that apparently that DVD sold like hotcakes to the Sam's Club members? So they insisted on playing it all day, every day, for months and months and months.
That feels like in the 40-Year-Old Virgin, when in that Best Buy type store, aren't they playing something on repeat all the time?
And when the manager would go upstairs, I would go turn that shit down, and she'd come down and get pissed. She's like, "This stuff needs to be loud." Oh my God, I got so fucking tired of the Eagles.
When I was managing the hair studios, those people were so tired of me because all I would ever do is play the Janet Jackson station on Pandora or Spotify.
Yeah, but that's the station. You get more than one artist.
You do, but and they knew, like, when I would walk in, they would change the station because they would try to play like other stuff. Like, and no, not while I'm here. We not gonna not rep my girl whenever I walk in the room if I can help it. And then, of course, Sinead O'Connor died.
Yeah, I had a poem I found that I think was interesting. I'll save for the end. But yes, that's very sad. I have seen her in concert, I think in 2008 in Minneapolis. And yeah, I don't know, very talented and outspoken and I don't know, troubled also. But yeah, that saddened me to hear about her. She was only 56.
Well, she had a lot of personal, like, health, mental, physical issues, and
she did, but the world certainly didn't help her with that.
Well, I think, becoming famous and then not knowing how to play the game, right? I mean, there's like a machine, and when you go against it, then things just get harder. And I'm sure, like,
well, she because she died, there have been a lot of quotes and retweets and memes about an interview she gave in 2021 about how people told her that she'd fucked up her career by tearing up that picture of the Pope on SNL. And she was like, I didn't fuck up my career. I fucked up the career of the people handling me, because it meant they couldn't capitalize off of me. And it just meant that I would have to, and I'm paraphrasing freely here, but that she would have to spend her life performing live, which she did. It's also hard on your body to spend decades performing live, but I don't know. I think that what she did was also commendable.
I don't know why she did it, and I mean, I remember it. I think that from a marketing standpoint, it was a really stupid decision to make, and I think people will shoot off their nose to spite their face.
Then I'm very much that type.
And you're like that, and to me, it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like you'd be more effective if you learn how to, like, infiltrate and spread from within, infect from within very subtly. So it seems like a very hot-headed thing to do, but I don't dislike her for that.
It also highlighted a problem within the Catholic Church about sex abuse.
Yeah, and I'm not I have no connection to the Catholic Church to want to defend it, and I don't think that the Pope didn't deserve to be like desecrated. But I just my thought is more about her as a person who clearly felt very passionately about something, and I think she could have probably spread her message more effectively.
I think she was ahead of her time because that kind of action wouldn't have the same response now. Because if you think about their late 80s and early 90s and NWA and Madonna and the shit that they had to put up with from authorities regarding censorship, like those are trailblazers. They and Sinead O'Connor's in there too, paved the way for us to have at least a closer semblance to fucking free
Well,
speech.
unfortunately, she didn't have a strong enough sort of foundation in her career to withstand that
I
stunt,
think
right? Like
that's the
you have
key.
one hit, and then it's like, and you're not even from this country. Versus, NWA was more niche, right? Because it's like subversive that this like black rap group, because obviously it's like white kids buying the music, so so the more controversial they get, the more the white kids want it, and
Mm-hmm.
then within their own community they're not a problem, so they're going
Right.
to be fine, and they all, for the most part, that genre of music flourished. And then Madonna was already so popular that it just made her even like a lot of things, when you're told you're not supposed to want
Well,
it,
you
then
know,
people want it. But Shane O'Connor's like, she's not giving people anything they want. She's just doing something, like she didn't have anything to give that people wanted, right? Like
sure.
she didn't have this huge catalog of music that people were dancing to or
Mm-hmm.
partying to, or so. I mean, I just feel bad that she's. But I don't know her. I was reading about her, and Russell Crowe posted this really long thing about her, and he told us, recounted a story, a recent story, an encounter he had with her that was really touching. But yeah, I that's my impression of her, is that she had a lot of issues and probably was not well treated after
Definitely not. No.
she kind of peaked. But we need to take another break. The secret movie today was my choice. I chose the 1990 American superhero film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Uh-huh.
because we watched the new animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem
Mm-hmm.
last week,
Yep.
and our review comes up tomorrow, Monday, which we both really liked.
Yes.
So I thought, let's revisit this, and then the podcast title will be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I'm sure this will get more clicks than an average episode. But I'm sad that we watched it. I even wrote down that.
I'm glad we watched this after Mutant Mayhem.
I'm glad I didn't watch this before the new one, or I wouldn't have agreed to see it.
Ooh.
Because this shit is.
Well, okay, so I do have memories. So I'd have been 6. So my mom was pregnant, I think, with my sister. Um, and I remember going to the Iron Gate Mall in Hibbing, Minnesota, and she took me because I liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and she took me to this movie. And but I haven't seen it since that time, and it's weird rewatching it because there are images that there were stretches of the film that were coming back to me.
Yeah, I watched it in 1990. I remember being taken with a group of other boys to the theater, and that was a very uncomfortable situation because I never fit in. So I remember kind of like, if there were like 7 or 8 of us, it was like me by myself, kind of away from the group. And whatever theater we went to, there was like an arcade.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember kind of like being off on my own, like
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the movie to start because I didn't have money to play the arcade games. So I'm just like standing there. I also remember going with that same group to watch Gleaming the Cube.
Oh God, with Christian Slater.
Yes. But anyway, this movie, the story, 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles emerge from the shadows to protect New York City from a gang of criminal ninjas. Obviously, this shit is like dumb as hell. It's based on a comic book series. It was a cartoon that, of course, I watched as a kid.
Same. Mm-hmm.
But man, this thing just suffers from, like, it's clearly for a certain age group, and I don't think that it gives. I don't think the humor.
It doesn't really give anything. I don't.
It's just like martial arts fighting, with like dumb costumes on.
I don't think the choreography is good. I think the cinematography is
The
subpar.
cinematography is inconsistent at best. Like
But this was technically an independent film because it's credited as being the most profitable independent film until Blair Witch Project at the end of the decade.
Here, let me go through my notes. So the criminal ninjas are run by Shredder. And Shredder, well, God, it feels so stupid even trying to describe the origin of this story, but there is a rat named Splinter who has adopted these 4 teenage mutant ninja turtles, and he found them when he was like a rat, not like a mutant human rat. So he found these baby turtles, and they were like roaming, like they were submerged in some like green ooze. So he took them. The rat was also exposed to the ooze, took them back to his home in the sewer, and realized that they were growing into like humans, like human mutant animals. So they're really smart and sophisticated, but
and
they
big,
look like rats and turtles, and they're big
with very well defined legs and arms.
And Splinter used to have like a mentor who was like a martial artist. So Splinter knows like martial arts.
Yeah.
And his mentor had an arch rival.
And the martial arts part of his life was before the ooze.
And the rival to his mentor is Shredder. So that's the history. So anyway, now 15 years later in New, because the rivalry took place in Japan, I think.
I thought so, yeah.
But now they're in New York City, and Shredder runs this like child labor ninja organization.
He's brainwashed all these little children from various backgrounds in New York to steal things
and learn ninja fighting, I guess.
It's almost like he's a mixture of somebody from Mortal Kombat and Fagin from Oliver Twist.
There's a lot of product placement in this movie. Burger King, Domino's, Pepsi. I was reading about that because while Domino's is featured in the film, for people who don't know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles love pizza. When the film was released, there was an enormous, like, multi-million-dollar marketing campaign with Pizza Hut for the release of this film, even though it's Domino's in the movie.
Weird.
Okay, so I didn't think it was funny. I don't like how it looks. I didn't like the lead female played by Judith Hoag.
I didn't either.
Who I thought looked like if you mixed Mackenzie Davis and you said Jay Moore.
Once I decided that I thought she looked like Jay Moore, I could not unsee Jay Moore.
Oh, I hated her screen presence. I hated the way that character was written, and then come to find out she's not in the subsequent.
There's two sequels after this
because of her nasty attitude, apparently.
Yeah, she complained too much, so they didn't invite her back. But the things I remember about seeing April O'Neil on TV in that yellow coat when she's in the subway and is getting attacked. It was the weirdest sensation watching those scenes. I don't know.
Okay, the new movie coming out this week, the cartoon, I loved it. And I mean, there's just so much about it I love, but the 4 turtles in the new movie are so likable and cute, and everything out of their mouth is funny. And it's timely, but I feel like it won't feel dated in 20 years. This shit just feels like, what are you even? It's so lame. It's just like they took whatever popular words were being used in 1989 and just threw them in this movie. But these turtles are not that likable.
There's a reference to moonlighting.
There is, like, I guess that wasn't a kid's show. I don't know.
I mean, I
watched Moonlighting as a little gay boy, but
I was 6, so I didn't know what moonlighting was at that age.
But these turtles are cheap because we see the one calling Domino's talking about 30 minutes or you get $3 off, and like.
By cheap, you mean frugal?
No, I think they're cheap. I'm frugal.
Oh, okay.
Well, I wouldn't set someone up just to get a $3 discount.
Sure.
Like, aren't these supposed to be like
heroes?
Well, they're not. Even in the new cartoon, they're not heroes immediately. Mm-hmm. They sort of evolve into that, but I don't know. It was just, they were just not likable to me at all.
Well, Corey Feldman voices with Donatello.
Okay, you keep talking about what you remember from this movie. The thing I remembered immediately, it hit me like a flood of hormones, is I remember thinking Elias Koteas was the most handsome man I had ever
seen.
And it is gray sweatpants season in this movie, and it looks like he's wearing a jockstrap because every scene he's wearing a white rib tank top that I'm not supposed to call a wife beater,
Right.
and gray sweatpants. But then his bulge looks like the kind of bulge you get from a jockstrap, like it's all bunched up in that tight triangle, and then his sweats are always caught up in his butt cheeks, so it makes it seem like he has bare ass under there. And I don't think I knew what that was at 12, but looking at it as an adult, I'm like, why'd they style him like that? Why'd they do that? I mean, thank you, but
I like Elias Koteas. There's a Sigourney connection with him too, and a Cronenberg Crash. I always invariably think of him, but I didn't like him and didn't need him in this movie.
Well, I don't know that I needed any of them, but
no, but
yeah,
he seems
that was the memory of a 12-year-old going through puberty and thinking,
oh sure,
and like realizing I'm gay and thinking like, oh my god, like that's who I'd be gay for, is whatever that character's name is,
Casey Jones.
But
and the
other thing I distinctly recall from this movie from 1990 are the visuals from when Splinter is telling the origin story.
Oh yeah,
because it looks like
it's a rat in a cage.
It's like a rat puppet in a cage doing like hiya judo chop, like
despite of his rage.
And then the little baby turtles looking like little puppets.
I thought they looked like Michael Cera.
They're cute, but it looks so cheap and crazy. And then they make it look like kind of fuzzy or grainy, like, oh, that's what the past looks like.
Like giving me like, I don't know if it was trying for a Dark Crystal vibe, but
it does kind of have that vibe.
It's just not good. And then Kevin Clash is doing the voice of Splinter, who's doing Asian voice.
For people who don't know, Kevin Clash is the gay black man who voiced Elmo.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny that he's voicing Splinter, who's supposed to be Japanese. I mean, I mean, I guess rats don't have ethnicity. Maybe they have species or breeds, but I don't know. He's talking with like what sounds like a Mr. Miyagi type.
He definitely is. I mean, and as a kid, you wouldn't know, like, you know.
I have bigger fish to fry with this movie, so I'm not going to go in on Kevin Clash playing Splinter, but once you realize that, it's funny to me. Okay. You said something that made me laugh. Wouldn't these turtles smell like shit all the time? Because they live in the sewer and they're just stomping around, and it's like
the first time before they go to April O'Neil's apartment, we see a shot in the sewer where there's a lot of water and it's wet, and then she's got these little pumps on. It's like, I was like, girl, your shoes would smell like shit. And then I'm like, why they would smell like poop?
But why didn't someone this screenplay is terrible. Someone needed to comment on how these turtles smell, because the turtles are also supposed to be refined. Like, they don't eat, because they even make a joke like, oh, I like to put like bugs and shit on my pizza. And then they're kidding. And then at one point, one of the pizzas is like moldy and they throw it away. So they're supposed to be kind of refined, but then you smell like shit. There's no way. We don't see them bathing or doing any sort of grooming. Like,
no, not at all. And then Splinter looks raggedy as hell.
Splinter looks, yeah.
He looks like he's about to die.
So at one point, one of the Ninja Turtles, Raphael, gets beat up and he's near death, and it looks so stupid. There isn't a bruise on his ass. It's like, what is it, all internal bleeding? And then they have to move to like the countryside. So
very
Elias Koteas,
like the Godfather,
April O'Neil, yeah, and then the four turtles move like far away to like reset. And Raphael, they put his ass in a bathtub, all crooked and crazy. I know he had back problems after that, but.
And then they're trying to make April O'Neil and Casey Jones have a romance.
Which was like, I mean, you can see it from a mile away, but it also makes no sense.
No.
It's at the point where they move to the countryside where April starts keeping a journal.
Well, because she's been fired.
And then she's drawing pictures of the turtles, and we're getting narration of her journal entries. That was terrible. Terrible.
The turtles are now 4 again.
There's a moment when Elias Koteas is massaging Judith Hogue, and she's not wearing a bra, and you can see her little areola bumps, and I thought that was a bit much for a kids movie, but the turtles like walk in on them, which was also weird because they all have a crush on April, but then they don't recognize that this man is trying to be sexual with her. and then she offers them like some massage oil or something, and then the one grabs turtle wax as like these are this is the caliber of jokes in this movie.
It's so dumb.
You really had a problem with how the red and the purple turtle looked.
I didn't like their heads.
You were like, they are so ugly.
Oh.
Like the other ones were cute.
They were cute.
But I do agree with you. The head shape of the red and the purple were different. And they did look kind of like not nice.
They look like the Goombas from the Super Mario Brothers movie with Bob Hoskins.
Oh my God. So I guess there's like a supernatural component to it because they can communicate with the spirit of Splinter. So they do so at like a campfire. And he's basically telling them goodbye because I'm dying. That was whatever. So there's a joke made that I thought was in really poor taste. I know it's 1990, but on the way back from the countryside, they have the 4 turtles in the back of the truck, like in the truck, like the bed of the truck, and then the 2 humans are in the front. And when they get out of the truck, one of the turtles says, "Now I know what it's like to travel without a green card." So to me, that meant, like crossing the border illegally. I didn't need that. Then more offensive stuff to me was Elias's character makes a couple of comments like about not being gay, or because at one point the turtles accuse him of being claustrophobic and he thinks that means homosexual. That's not funny.
Nope, not at all.
Because really it would be homophobic, which you seem to be. So you don't even like, I don't think that joke works. Then he also because at a point Elias Cotes' character gets into a fight and he's like, "I look like I just called Mike Tyson a sissy." Like, okay, whatever. The montage from the old timey times when Splinter's saying how his master, like how he learned martial arts, and then his master was killed by Shredder, and then he scratches Shredder's face, and that's why Splinter's ear is cut off because Shredder sliced him before he could get away. Shredder, you said something else that made me laugh about his little gay ass costume. It's all rhinestoned up.
Oh, I hated that costume. Oh my God. That I could get that from Party City right now.
I could see that being on Drag Race if it were a little more cinched. And, like, it just looks so...
Well, he's got these Joan Crawford shoulders. Like, my God. And then when he takes off his little mask, it's like, those are the scratches. You could have a little plastic surgery and you'd be just fine. You're in New York.
They're not that bad that like you will never show your face.
No, you could have that.
I guess you're a ninja, but whatever.
You have that patched up real quick.
The film ends with Shredder being crushed in a dump truck like Michael Myers
in Halloween.
But isn't he in 2 and 3?
I'm assuming. I never saw 2 and 3.
I know people. I listened to a couple of film podcasts, and one of them always complains about how critics try to rationalize like stupid stories. I'm not trying to do that. I don't expect this to be like rational or logical.
It's not about rationalizing a story.
It's not funny. I mean, if you're going to be like ridiculous, then it needs to be funny.
You need to be funny, and I don't think
smart.
It's not too much to ask to obey the own rules of the universe you create.
This was just the writing is just bad. I don't, the look of the film watching it now, it does feel nostalgic, and I don't mind that. But I just think the casting and the dialogue really led this movie astray.
It was directed by Steve Barron, who would also direct another favorite from my childhood, which was Coneheads.
Well, what would you give this movie?
1. I thought it was terrible.
I would give it 1 out of 5. It was pretty hard to sit through. All the cowabunga. I mean, and there's not even that much of it. And all their little jokes and mannerisms. It's like whoever thought this was funny needs like to be recalibrated.
Yeah. Yes.
Or they didn't have anyone there to like get someone to punch the shit up. I don't.
And Sam Rockwell plays a character credited as Head Thug.
That's right.
And this is after Clown House.
Oh.
Remember, he's one of the boys in the underwear in Clown House.
Yeah.
Victor Salvas.
We're not supposed to talk about that.
Oh my God. Well, we need to talk about it, Kevin.
Well, I think that's all I have. I would highly, highly recommend people check out the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem animated movie. It's so funny, so sweet. But that's it. This week is busy because we have to watch all kinds of stuff. Today we're watching
Passages.
Passages.
Tomorrow is The Passenger.
Tomorrow's The Passenger. Then you're seeing Problemista. I'm seeing Meg 2.
We're both seeing Meg 2.
It Lives Inside, whatever that is.
That's coming out in September, so we're seeing an early thing of that. But yeah, and then there's that John Hamm movie, Corner Office. There, Till Death Do Us Part.
That's a little too much. I might have to recalibrate some things. That sounds like too much.
Well, we only scheduled what you agreed upon, so
well, then other things happen and can't be left alone. But you want to read a poem?
Well, I finished A Room with a View, which I haven't had time to watch the movie version of by James Ivory yet this week. Maybe I don't know when, but now I'm reading The Order of Time by Carlo Rovelli, an Italian theoretical physicist who some describe as the new Stephen Hawking. And I'm reading it because it's
the new classic, like Iggy Azalea.
Yeah. Okay. Liliana Cavani adapted this book. That's her new film. And I'm confounded about how she's adapting this book, which is about the theory of quantum gravity in an attempt to understand and give meaning to the resulting extreme landscape of this timeless world. I will say I'm finding it much more fascinating than I thought. It's very accessible. Mr. Rovelli seems also kind of bitchy in a way that I highly enjoy. And like he has all these footnotes where he's defending himself ahead of time. Like, if you thought you were going to criticize me for not thinking about this, think again.
Oh.
And I would recommend having some wine, maybe an edible, and just letting your mind explore these interesting theories about how there's not really a now.
Like, I thought you were reading a quote.
Oh, I don't. Chris Christopherson had written a song about Sinead, Sister Sinead.
Oh, I thought the quote you were reading was from the book.
No.
Oh.
I was talking about the book.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you wanted me to read this. It's basically a poem, but
you said you were.
Yeah, I thought it was touching.
Oh, well, please go ahead.
And this is not in the style of Chris Christopherson. This is the style of poetry. A hip hop poet.
Oh God.
Jill Scott. I'm singing this song for my sister Sinead concerning the god-awful mess that she made. When she told him her truth just as hard as she could, her message profoundly was misunderstood. There's humans entrusted with guarding our gold, and humans in charge of the saving of souls, and humans responded all over the world, condemning that bald-headed brave little girl. And maybe she's crazy, and maybe she ain't, but so is Picasso, and so are the saints. And she's never been partial to shackles or chains. She's too old for breaking and too young to tame. It's asking for trouble to stick out your neck in terms of a target, a big silhouette. But some candles flicker, and some candles fade, and some burn as true as my sister Sinead. And maybe she's crazy, and maybe she ain't, but so is Picasso, and so are the saints, and she's never been partial to shackles or chains. She's too old for breaking and too young to tame.
That was a quality moment.
And I think that's a lovely defense of her.
Yeah. All done?
Yeah.
Bye.